Are you sure?
Here's the 30-second lesson on what legends know. Never ask a bride why she's getting married. Don't wear a skirt on a windy day. Deodorant is not a shower. Don't sniff chili flakes. And don't forget, saving is not investing. Legends don't just save, they invest in mutual funds. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Filmmaker Anubhav Sinha's 6-part teleserial IC814 The Kandahar Hijack on Netflix is making waves enough for the government, for the mighty government of India to summon one of the top executives or the top executives of Netflix to see them. Now, what is the issue here? The issue has cropped up mostly on social media with a lot of people getting upset. One, because they think that by and large the treatment of hijackers is soft. They are not shown to be such bad guys as they are, or such bad guys as they would be as the villain or the villains or the villain or his henchmen would be in any Indian movie. So they come across as more human than they should have been. That's one. But this is triggered mostly by the fact of all the things said. The most triggering thing is that passengers are referring to these hijackers not by their real names, their original names, original Muslim names. Each one is being referred to by some kind of a nickname or some kind of an adopted name, or in some cases by an obvious Hindu name. So right through the teleserial, this continues. An impression, therefore, thereby is sought to be created, allegedly sought to be created by the filmmaker, that these were not Muslims, that these were Hindus, that how many people will go and check who Googles who was Bhola and who was Shankar. People will think Bhola Shankar is the short name, is the popular name for Lord Shiva, and Bhola and Shankar are short for that. So that is the confusion, and that is what has led to all this tension. Now, Government of India has got involved, so we have to take it more seriously. I have to also confess to you that I have not seen the teleserial yet. I had planned to see it over the weekend, but let me tell you what, there is a limited number of hours that you can spend watching television, and this weekend that got consumed by cricket, because there's been such a withdrawal symptom over sort of the end of the sporting season. The Olympics are over, the cricket season is over, that you try and figure out what to watch, and suddenly when you see interesting cricket, because normally you would have said, Bangladesh, Pakistan, who bothers? Both are weak teams. Bangladesh much weaker than Pakistan, so it will be one-sided. Also, Pakistanis are on their home ground, but cricket got interesting. So basically my TV watching hours over the weekend got consumed by the Pakistan-Bangladesh cricket test match, which, as you know, has turned out to be very, very super interesting. That said, I will tell you some facts, because I have access to facts. Now, there are books written on this episode. In fact, this teleserial also is widely drawn and inspired from Srinjoy Chaudhary, journalist Srinjoy Chaudhary's book, which is actually spoken in the words of the captain of the aircraft IC814, Flight into Fear, a captain's story by Devi Sharan, that is Captain Devi Sharan, and Srinjoy Chaudhary, who has written the book. So this is inspired from that. So a lot of the facts are there. However, what is it that is problematic? What is problematic is, first of all, that these people were being referred to by their adopted names, which were all Hindu names. So I take you back to January 6, 2000. The hijack has taken place on Christmas Eve on 24th of December, 1999. On January 6, that is in less than 2 weeks of the hijack, Government of India claims that they have cracked the story, they have cracked the case. They've also identified the hijackers. That's when the Home Minister of India, who's Mr. L.K. Advani no less, a statement is issued by him. You will see the statement on your screen. This is from the MEA's website. You will see the statement on your screen. That statement, besides the fact that it gives you the names of the hijackers, it also tells you how was this hijacking cracked. How did Government of India conclude that these hijackers were Pakistanis and not locals from India, maybe not from Kashmir or some other part of India? But these were actual Pakistanis. However, they also had accomplices in India. So this case, they say, was cracked because these hijackers, through some of their people in Rawalpindi, reached out to one of their contacts in Mumbai to ask him to call a particular British journalist in London to say that unless their demands were accepted, they were going to blow up the plane. So hijackers obviously did not want to make the call themselves from some place because you would get caught, or there was a fear you would get caught. But they had the message conveyed to somebody in Rawalpindi. It's quite possible, I'm now guessing it, but I think it's a good guess. It's quite possible that somebody who got this contact in Rawalpindi activated, or maybe it was the contact himself, was an ISI person, because this hijacking, without a doubt, was an ISI operation. It was an elaborate ISI operation which had been in the plans for more than a year already. I will tell you more about that because a lot of that also came up in the court hearing. So I am basically relying on two documents. One document is Mr. Advani's statement on 6th of January 2000, that's less than 2 weeks after the hijacking. And the second is the judgment of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, mostly reaffirming the trial court conviction of the suspects. Of the suspects, the Indians and a Nepali, they were convicted, given jail sentences. The Pakistanis in the group were all declared proclaimed offenders. They were not available to face trial in India. Those are the two basic documents. I am also sharing both documents with you. Along with the documents, I am also sharing with you the link to a paper written by Mr. KPS Gill, late Mr. KPS Gill, the former Director General of Police in Punjab, because he has done the best recollection of what went wrong at Amritsar Airport. The entire series of blunders and pusillanimity and indecision that allowed the plane to leave Amritsar and then go on to Lahore and then to UAE, to an Air Force base, and then on to Kandahar. Because if this had been stopped at Amritsar, maybe the story would have been different. So please read his paper as well. This paper is titled Terrorism, Institutional Collapse and Emergency Response Protocols. And this was published in the Feb 4, 2000 edition of Fault Lines Journal. Again, within a month and a half of the incident. So this was still quite fresh. Please read this paper. It's very, very interesting and very comprehensive, and also very worrying. It's also very worrying because even in 1999, end of 1999, when India had already faced terrorism for such a long time, so many lapses could take place, and that too in a state, and that too within that state in a city which had had such a long experience of dealing with terrorism, hijacks, etc., etc. His article, in fact, the opening line with the article, the quote that he has used, the blurb that he has used is telling. It says, "Complacency is the true friend of the terrorist." So this was an act of complaisance at a mega level. Now, back to Mr. Advani's statement. Mr. Advani's statement says that because our intelligence now, because they were now scanning all communication coming out of Pakistan, so they caught these calls coming from Rawalpindi to somebody in Mumbai saying, please call so-and-so in London, such and such journalist in London, and say that unless our demands were accepted, we were going to blow up the plane. Following up on that, Mumbai police, in partnership with central intelligence agencies, says Mr. Advani, they carried out raids and arrested 4 people. Who were these 4 people? Muhammad Rehan from Karachi, 2 Muhammad Iqbal from Multan, 3 Yusuf Nepali, who was obviously from Nepal, and 4th Abdul Latif. Abdul Latif was an Indian. That's an interesting point. And Abdul Latif is the one who had received these phone calls. Then in the court judgment, you will see an elaborate account of how Abdul Latif had been involved with these hijackers in their planning for more than a year, how he had got them fake passports, how he had got them, helped them get Bangladeshi visas on fake passports so they could travel in and out, how he himself acquired a fake passport in a Hindu name. I will tell you more detail as we go along. So Abdul Latif was a key character. So Abdul Latif was a key character. Mr. Advani's statement said that he was recruited by the ISI in the Gulf when he worked there From there, he was taken to Pakistan to 2 different camps for very hard training, and from there he was taken to Afghanistan for a camp for training as well. Then Mr. Advani's statement says that based on their interrogation of these four, he says, were members of Harkatul Ansar. Mr. Advani's statement underlines that Harkatul Ansar, to which these 4 belong, is a terrorist organization and acknowledged to be so in 1997 by the US government. So it is the interrogation of these 4 that led Government of India want to conclude with evidence that this was a Pakistani operation, the hijack, and also the names of these hijackers. And the names were Ibrahim Athar, Bahawalpur, Shahid Akhtar Syed from Gulshan Iqbal, Karachi, Sani Ahmad Qazi from Defence Area, Karachi, Mistri Zahur Ibrahim again from Karachi, and number 5, Shakir from Sakar. Mr. Advani's statement also mentions the aliases used by them on the hijack. And those are the aliases with which they introduced themselves to their victims, to the crew of the aircraft. And these aliases are given against each name. Ibrahim Athar was chief, by the way, brother of sorts of Maulana Masood Azhar. Shahid Akhtar Syed was doctor. Sani Ahmad Qazi was burger. Mistri Zahur Ibrahim was Bhola, and Shakir was Shankar. So starting from Kathmandu, when the hijack took place, not very long after they were airborne, what the crew knew was the names that these hijackers told them. They had no idea who these people were. So from there they landed at Amritsar. After not getting permission, after being refused permission once for landing and refueling at Lahore, then they went to Lahore, they refueled, then they went to Al Minhad Air Base in UAE, and from there to Kandahar. Right through, these hijackers did not use any other names. So once again, what is the filmmaker guilty of if the filmmaker is giving you a realistic picture of what happened on flight? Maybe this could have been made clearer by running supers on the screen saying so and so went by this name on the flight, the passengers only knew him, passengers or crew only knew him by this name on the flight, but his real name was this. And those real names are available to us now. They've been available to us in public domain since January 6, 2000. Now, Mr. Advani's statement tells us that this call from Rawalpindi to their contact in Mumbai, obviously Abdul Latif, was made on December 29. But on November 1, 1999, that is about 2 months before the hijack, Ibrahim Athar and Abdul Latif, they had met in Mumbai. Ibrahim Athar was able to come to Mumbai with another passport. He was able to come to Mumbai. From there, they took a flight to Kolkata. From Kolkata, they went to New Jalpaiguri, where they took a bus to Kathmandu. So both went to Kathmandu. Abdul Latif, after delivering Ibrahim Athar safely in Kathmandu, came back to Mumbai. December 1, 1999, Abdul Latif made yet another trip to Kathmandu with Shakir. So once again, it tells you that so weak or so porous was our intelligence or our security that these Pakistanis, carrying various kinds of passports, were walking in and out of India at will. On this trip, Abdul Latif with Shakir took the train to Gorakhpur from Mumbai, and from Gorakhpur went to Kathmandu by bus. From Kathmandu, he took the flight to Delhi and took the train back to Mumbai to try and make it as complicated as possible. Then Mr. Advani's statement lists 6 points by way of evidence that this was a Pakistani operation. So number 1, that one Pakistani embassy car in Kathmandu, number 42 CD14, it was seen pulling up at Kathmandu airport shortly before this aircraft left. Of the 3 people in the car, one was identified as somebody who had earlier been reported for handing over RDX to some Punjab militants from India. So he was an identified ISI person. Then he says that when the plane was hijacked, the first directive the crew was given, proceed to Lahore. So that confirms that hijackers were Pakistani. 3, when the captain the first time asked for refueling and landing in Lahore, Lahore said no. But later, when the hijacker requested air traffic control, they let them land and refuel in Lahore. Number 4, of the 36 people whose release the hijackers initially sought, 36 people, 33 were Pakistanis. 36 out of 33. One was British, one Afghan, and only one Kashmiri Indian, right? That means their interest mainly was getting Pakistanis arrested for terrorism in India, mostly in Kashmir, being freed. Point number 5, that Masood Azhar or Maulana Masood Azhar, he entered India illegally on a fake passport, fake Portuguese passport, under the name Esa bin Adam. He was arrested, and the Pakistani establishment owned him up in June 1996. So in June 1996, Major General Nasirullah Babar, Interior Minister of Pakistan then, wrote to Indian High Commissioner seeking Masood Azhar's release on humanitarian grounds. In 1997, Mr. Advani's statement notes that the Pakistani High Commission in Delhi sent a note verbal, a formal note verbal to MEA seeking consular access to Masood Azhar, claiming that he is their national. And the 6th point Mr. Advani's statement notes is that already there are media reports in Pakistan that some of the released people released in exchange for aircraft and the passengers, have been seen in different parts of Pakistan. That said, I come to the High Court judgment, because there was a trial court judgment and then everybody went into appeal in the High Court. This is a Punjab and Haryana High Court judgment by Justice Gupta and Justice Fatehdeep Singh, dated 25th February 2014. The original conviction order was delivered by Sessions Judge of Patiala on 5/2/2008. Why was all this happening in Punjab? That's because the plane's hijacking was first reported on Indian soil in Amritsar. In this High Court judgment, once again, I will not go into the minutiae of the order because it's a 75-page order. You can read it. I'm sharing a link with you. But the important thing is, look at the list of convicts who've come into appeal at the High Court. Everybody has multiple aliases. Ibrahim Athar, alias Ahmad Ali, alias Muhammad Sheikh, alias Javed Amjad Siddiqui, alias A. Sheikh, alias Chief. Right? So even the High Court notes that name, Chief. Number 2, Sani Ahmad Qazi, alias S.A. Qazi, alias Burger. Number 3, Shahid Saeed Akhtar, alias S.A. Saeed Moti, alias Khalid, alias Doctor. Next, number 4, Zahur Ibrahim Mistri, alias Z.I. Mistri, that is simple, alias Bhola. Number 5, Shakir, alias Rajesh Gopal Verma, alias R.G. Verma, alias Farooq Abdul Aziz Siddiqui, alias Shankar. All these aliases are also relevant because most of these people at various different points of time traveled under different passports. Many of these passports were arranged for them or brokered for them by Abdul Latif and people around him in Mumbai. In fact, at various points of time, they even got Abdul Latif to rent apartments for them where they could come and stay and plot their stuff in India itself. These 5 names I have given you are the names of the hijackers. Number 6, Abdul Latif, alias Adam Momin. He is the Indian kingpin in this. Number 7, Bhupal Man Damai, alias Yusuf Nepali. He is the Nepali person in the Harkatul Mujahideen list that Mr. Advani had released. Then Abdul Rauf, that's a new name. Then Yusuf Azhar, alias Muhammad Salim, but Muhammad Salim looks like a popular alias. And then a new name, Indian name, Dilip Kumar Bhajel. All 10 accused A1 to A10 had been convicted. In fact, the judges say the appellants, namely Abdul Latif and Bhujel, are Indian nationals, whereas appellant Yusuf Nepali is a national of Nepal. All other accused are the Pakistani nationals and are proclaimed offenders. Now, the judgment, in fact, where the judgment is useful is it actually takes you in the detail of how the conspiracy came up. That's a lot more detail than Mr. Advani's statement gives because the judgment is based on the CBI's charge sheet. And the CBI's charge sheet in the case was quite comprehensive. So the judgment says that in July-August 1998 is when the first plans were laid for this hijack. The judgment tells us that the planning began in July-August 1998 when a brother-in-law of Masood Azhar reached out to their contact in Mumbai, that is Abdul Latif, to say he needed help, and he said that he was coming into Bombay and there he needed help to get an Indian passport and then to get a Bangladeshi visa on that Indian passport in the name of Muhammad Salim. He also wanted a house taken on rent for him in Mumbai. So in Feb 1999, in a building called Matthew Building in Goregaon West, Abdul Latif rented a house where now Yusuf Azhar came in and lived as Javed Siddiqui. In Feb 1999, Abdul Latif took a house on rent. He was able to take a house on rent, a flat on rent in Matthew Building in Goregaon West in Mumbai under the name of Javed Siddiqui, saying that I am renting the house for Javed Siddiqui. That's where in April 1999, Yusuf Azhar came into Bombay and spent some time, and he lived there, and he came along with, the judgment says, along with Shankar, which means Shakir. However, the judgment just says Shankar, although in quotes A5, accused number 5, the last of the 5 hijackers. In May-June 1999, that is within a month of their coming into Mumbai, they made their way to Jammu. They made their way to Jammu and they tried to organize that audacious escape or rescue or whatever you might call it for Masood Azhar by digging a tunnel under the jail where he was being held in Jammu. That failed, and in that process, one of his accomplices, in fact, when they gave their demands and they wanted those 36 terrorists released, they also wanted the body of Sajjad Afghani handed over. Sajjad Afghani was buried inside the Jammu jail premises. So that jailbreak failed. After that, it looks like that Yusuf Azhar and Akhtar, his accomplice, they were caught by Jammu police because they thought they were roaming around in suspicious circumstances, but the hotel owner vouchsafed for them and they were released. In June 1999, they again asked Abdul Latif to take one more apartment. In this case, another apartment was taken in the name of Javed Siddiqui in Golden Soil Building in Mumbai. And once again, Bangladesh visa was arranged for Azhar and also for Abdul Latif himself, who now had a passport, a fake Indian passport. He is an Indian citizen, but he had another fake Indian passport made for himself in the name of Vipin Bharat Desai. On 11th 999, 11th September 1999, Latif came back to Mumbai along with Sunny Kazi, who was also one of the eventual hijackers. So all of these people walking in and out of India, and they pretty much were getting their new passports made, fake passports made, new identities taken at will. And that tells you how weak our security system was at that point. Now, if anything, a web series like this is not a definitive, comprehensive statement on history. It gives you one aspect of that history, which is these few days of the hijack. As we understand, there are never 100% confirmations to these things, but it does look like that at least one of these 5 hijackers has since been killed. He was shot by unidentified men in Karachi outside a workshop, and that one is Mistri Zahoor Ibrahim, or one who went by the nickname of Bhola on that hijack. As for the rest, maybe there'll be more stories coming out in the next few days to give us an idea of what happened to them subsequently, because remember, 25 years have passed since this awful incident happened.